I have spent the last month doing a ton of research into all the different types of MacBooks out there, and I've actually gone out and purchased my own. So today, I want to help simplify and give you guys a beginner's guide into purchasing the best MacBook for you. In this video, I'm going to keep it super simple. There's going to be no technical jargon. We're going to run through the key differences between the different MacBooks. I'm going to help explain the best configuration for your use case, and I'll share the actual specs that I decided to use for myself. So with that being said, let's jump into it. The first decision you have to make when buying a MacBook is, do you want the MacBook Air or do you want the MacBook Pro? Now, there are pros and cons to both of these devices. The MacBook Airs are thinner, lighter, cheaper, and they now come with the same M4 chip that is used in the MacBook Pros. That means you're going to get a very powerful machine which is super portable and lightweight. However, some of the downsides are the screen isn't the best. It doesn't have a fan, which means this laptop will be dead quiet, it won't make a noise. However, if you're doing sustained high performance tasks, it will throttle the CPU and your performance will come down a bit. Which, given how powerful these chips are, this shouldn't be an issue for 99% of everyday users. The MacBook Airs are even capable of doing 4K video editing and basic programming tasks. In short, they're really good. Now, the MacBook Pros are heavier, thicker, and more expensive. However, you can spec them up to a higher degree, which means you can get a lot more performance, and they have a much better quality display, keyboard, and speakers. Because they have fans to keep it cool, you are going to get better performance, especially when you're doing those high performance sustained tasks. Which one you decide is totally up to you. My advice would be to go down to an actual store and check these devices out in person. Questions like, do you value the portability of the MacBook Air, or do you really want the high quality image that's in the MacBook Pro screen? Only you can decide by comparing them side by side in person. My advice for majority of people is to just get the MacBook Air. If you're a student, you're just going to check emails, do web browsing, Netflix, a couple of things on the Microsoft Office suite, MacBook Airs are going to be a fantastic purchase for you. Even if you're going to do light development or some very basic 4K video editing, MacBook Airs would be my recommendation. Now, as a YouTuber, I personally opted for the MacBook Pro because I really wanted that higher quality screen, and I also wanted to get into some heavy video editing. We're talking custom animations, effects, and color grading, and given the MacBook Pro can be specced out a lot higher and it has the fans to do the active cooling, it just made sense for me to spend a lot more money to go down that road. Once you've decided on whether you want the Air or the Pro, there are a bunch of configurations you need to decide on. Let's run through the process and I'm going to show you some ways you can save money. We're going to pretend we're a uni student looking to configure the perfect MacBook for us. Now, if you are a student or a teacher, you can actually save quite a bit of money by utilizing their student discounts. While Apple doesn't really do sales, they have a specialized educational store where students and teachers can save a bit of money and often get some freebies. Now, what we're going to do is head over to Macs. And because we are a student, we are going to have a look at the MacBook Airs. There are two different sizes, the 13 or the 15 inch. The 13 inch is significantly cheaper, but it comes with a smaller screen. Given we're a uni student who is going to lug this laptop around with a bunch of books and stationery, I want something really lightweight, so I'm going to opt for the 13 inch. You're then presented with three options, low, middle, and high end. I'm just going to select the first option and we're going to change this quite a bit. First up is the chip. Now I'm actually going to skip over this because it will automatically update for us when we select our storage option in a minute. So we're going to skip straight ahead to memory instead. Now, as a uni student, 16 gig is plenty. If I'm just going to be taking notes and doing web browsing, there is no point going for these higher options of RAM. However, if you're looking to do a bit of development, maybe you're going to run a couple of containers or run a little bit of AI locally, then sure, upgrade to 24 or 32 gig. But for vast majority of students, they can stick with the base offering of 16 gig. Now, this is where you're going to want to make some changes. In my opinion, 256 gig of internal storage is just not enough. At a minimum, I would say you would want at least 512. If not 1 terabyte. Now, when you select this option, it will automatically change that chip to the 10 core processor for you. The key thing you have to consider as a student when paying for this storage is, do you need this storage locally? For me, I always prefer local storage, so I would opt for the 1 terabyte. However, if you don't store much, then maybe you can get away with 512. And if you need the additional storage in the future, maybe an iCloud subscription would be cheaper. If you have an iPhone, it would let you sync all your photos and videos across all your devices in the cloud. And while it's a monthly ongoing fee, it would cost you a fraction of what it would otherwise to upgrade the SSD further. Finally, you'll have to select the power adapter. 35 watt one lets you charge 2 devices at once. I personally prefer the higher powered 70 watt single charger. It just lets you charge only your MacBook, but you get the fast charging, which I absolutely love. As a student, it would cost you 1,850 Australian dollars. And right now you'd also get a free pair of AirPods 4 valued at $300. So that would be what I would recommend for students. Now I want to run you through the actual configuration that I chose for my MacBook Pro and the reasonings for it. When I first started going down this rabbit hole, my key requirements were I wanted it to be portable, I wanted to edit 4K video heavily with custom animations and color grading, and I just didn't want to have any performance issues at all. At the start, I was also thinking, because MacBooks are so expensive, I might as well get the best of the best and keep it for 10 years. Initially, I fully spec'd out the top of the range MacBook Pro with an M4 Max chip, a ton of RAM, really overkill, because I was of the opinion, buy it once and keep it for 5 to 10 years. However, after doing a bunch of research, I realized I didn't have to spend $8,000 on a top-end laptop. I could spend about half of that and still hit all the key requirements that I needed. So I ended up with something more down the middle. I personally opted for the MacBook Pro because I wanted that higher quality screen and I wanted sustained performance under load. And even though I was doing video editing, which would benefit from the larger 16-inch display, I also highly valued portability. I wanted to comfortably hold this on my lap to edit videos on the train, in transit, when I'm just away from home, and using the 14-inch was so much easier. Another thing that deterred me from the 16-inch is I actually measured it out in my current bag that I had and realized the 16-inch laptop wouldn't even fit. So I didn't want to deal with that headache of buying extra bags and dealing with the additional weight. When it came to chips, because I had started out wanting the M4 Max, my compromise was the M4 Pro. Based on other benchmarks I've seen from other tech YouTubers, this seemed to be the best value for money. We're going to scroll down and select the first option, and again we're going to customize this out. When it came to the display, with the MacBook Pro lineup, you have the option between the regular display or the nano texture display. Now the nano texture has a matte finish and it's really good when you're using your laptop in direct sunlight. It removes a ton of the glare, however some of the colors can appear to be washed out. Eventually I want to increase the quality of my production and get into color grading, and so I stuck with the standard display because I wanted the colors to be more true and accurate to real life. In terms of the processor, I opted for this one, mainly because it had a little bit better graphics performance and it wasn't such a steep increase in price. I then upgraded the memory to 48 gig of unified memory. This is plenty for my needs. It'll let me do all the video editing I need. I can also run some AI locally and do as much development work as I wanted. Now, this is where it got pricey. For me, I really value having the storage locally. And while I could have gotten away with the 1 terabyte of internal storage, I paid the extra $540 to get the 2 terabytes. That really pains me because I know just how cheap storage actually is. Apple charges a ridiculous markup on these, and I know I could have purchased an external SSD for a really cheap price, but I really didn't want to have to deal with external drives and juggling the storage. So I paid the Apple tax and got that premium 2 terabyte storage. It automatically selects the power adapter for you, and that was it. In total, it came to just under 4,800 Australian dollars. In terms of buying experience and what you can expect, if you're getting any of the base model MacBook Airs or MacBook Pros, You can just walk directly into a shop or purchase it online and get it delivered really quick. However, if you spec one of these devices out like I did with the MacBook Pro, Apple unfortunately don't stock many of these in stores. For me, I had to purchase this online, and what they do is they process and build your machine in a factory in China and ship it across. And this does take a bit of time. When I first placed my order, they had a delivery date of about 2 weeks, so they set the expectation really long, and then they delivered it within a week. This seems to be a consistent experience across the board with other people who have purchased Macs. So just keep that in mind, and they also process your order slightly differently when you have multiple items. For example, these were free, but they charged me $300 for this and took $300 off the laptop price. And when they initially charged, they only took $300 out of my account. And for a split second, I thought they forgot to take the remaining $4,500 out. So when this happens to you, no, they didn't forget. They will deduct the full amount, but it will take a couple of days later. And I think that is about it. Overall, I'm super happy with the purchase. This is my first MacBook Pro for personal use, so this will be interesting to see how it goes. To recap, I recommend the Airs for majority of people, MacBook Pros for professional heavy level usage. Don't forget about the student website for some awesome discounts, and delivery times may vary. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. I'll be sure to answer them. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.